In the previous spoiler, it was mentioned that Luo Feng, through his comprehension of the laws equivalent to the 15th level of the Heavenly Bridge, unleashed the full power of the Yenshin armament. Not only did he assist Poison in successfully killing an immortal-level powerhouse from a subordinate race of the Demon Clan, but he also joined forces with Taiwo to repel another alien immortal, Fu Weisa, forcing him to sever an arm to survive and flee in panic. In this battle, the slaying of one immortal and dozens of World Master-level enemies brought considerable spoils to Luo Feng's team. Despite their caution in examining each item, they still failed to detect the faint spiritual imprint Fu Weisa had hidden. This gave Fu Weisa, who escaped by a hair's breadth, a chance for revenge. Consumed by hatred over the total annihilation of his forces and the loss of immortal divine power equivalent to millions of years of cultivation, he resolved to seek aid from other immortal-level powerhouses within his race, swearing to hunt down Luo Feng's elite squad. To ensure success, he even invited Meng Weina, a royal member of the Demon Clan with peak immortal army lord combat power, to join forces in planning a flawless assault. However, the Demon Clan lags far behind the automaton race in technology and lacks the virtual universe capabilities possessed by humans. They cannot conduct multi-party remote meetings through virtual space or share information on a unified platform. Instead, their communication methods remain as primitive as those in societies before group chats and video conferences became common, which requiring one-on-one contact and relaying messages step by step. This inefficiency greatly slowed Fu Weisa's efforts to gather support. What's worse, to avoid easy detection by enemies, Fu Weisa had deliberately suppressed his spiritual imprint to an extremely weak state, where one that only beings at the King Immortal level or higher, with exceptionally keen senses for divine power fluctuations, could detect. Moreover, spiritual imprints are limited by distance, where once separated too far, the sensing connection is lost. In other words, if Luo Feng's team leaves the fragmented star zone, Fu Weisa will completely lose his chance at tracking them and exacting revenge. Thus, he must quickly secure powerful allies and convince them to act with him to seize the initiative. It's worth mentioning that the Demon Clan generally possesses a higher life gene level than humans, with larger physiques and innate advantages granted by bloodline, which giving them an upper hand in cultivation. Especially at the immortal level and beyond, their massive bodies translate into more vast immortal divine power, and the strength of one's divine power often becomes the decisive factor in battle. As a result, in same-level confrontations, the Demon Clan tends to suppress humans. Of course, compared to the nobler bloodlines of the Space Beasts, the Demon Clan still falls short. That's precisely why the Space Beasts have always refused to acknowledge themselves as a branch of the Demon Clan, while the Demon Clan desperately seeks to bring them under their banner. After all, any Space Beast that achieves immortality becomes a terrifying embodiment of combat power. Recruiting such beings would undeniably grant the Demon Clan a significant strategic advantage in the power struggles among pinnacle races. However, as members of a subordinate race, even those noble-blooded and arrogant royal elites of the Demon Clan almost never spare them a glance, let alone take the initiative to offer help. What's more, the battles on the extraterritorial battlefield are constant and brutal, with casualties numbering in the billions. If everyone sought revenge over personal grudges, today you ask me for help, tomorrow I ask him for support, the battlefield would descend into an endless cycle of retaliation, utterly meaningless. It's important to understand, those who enter the extraterritorial battlefield come either for training or for resources, and the strong value efficiency above all else. In their eyes, hatred without practical value is merely an emotional outburst. Unless they encounter a sworn enemy or a mortal foe face to face, they naturally won't interfere in others' affairs. That's why Fu Weisa deliberately emphasized that Luo Feng's squad contained 2 world masters with strength comparable to immortal army lords, which are geniuses within the alien camp. This was the detail that finally piqued Meng Weina's interest. After all, across the entire universe and among all races, the true threats to future power struggles aren't ordinary warriors, but those rare geniuses with tremendous potential. The growth of a single genius can often determine the rise or fall of a race, and even shift the borders of territory. For this reason, in many races, killing one of the enemy's core geniuses earns far greater military merit than slaying 10 or even dozens of regular warriors. The Demon Clan is no exception. Tempted by the promise of high military rewards, Meng Weina agreed without hesitation to assist Fu Weisa in his revenge. However, Meng Weina was also fully aware that Luo Feng's squad was hiding within human-controlled territory. Acting rashly could easily plunge him into danger. Thus, they could only head to a universe rendezvous point and patiently wait for Luo Feng's squad to leave the human domain, then only ambush them at the opportune moment. More than 10 days later, Fu Weisa finally sensed that the faint spiritual imprint he had left behind had moved beyond the human-controlled zone. This meant Luo Feng's squad had exited their hiding place and was preparing to begin a new hunting operation. Fu Weisa immediately notified Meng Wanna and the others. The Demon Clan elites, who had long been lying in wait aboard a spaceship, were invigorated by the news and quickly adjusted course, flying at high speed toward Luo Feng's squad. At this point, you might be wondering, since members of the Demon Clan are generally enormous and some even larger than a spaceship, how can they board one? Surely they wouldn't specially build supersized vessels or cruise around in massive warships all the time, right? That would make them far too conspicuous and prone to exposure. In fact, the Demon Clan has long had a solution for this issue. Especially for those with overly massive bodies, just like what was shown in the animation preview, they typically rely on a special kind of metal puppet as an outer shell to carry their consciousness, while their true bodies remain hidden within their world rings. By controlling the puppet bodies through their consciousness, they are able to move freely aboard spaceships using standard-sized forms. However, it should be noted that these metal puppets are different from the combat puppets used by the automaton race, where they possess almost no actual combat capability. Once a battle erupts, these Demon Clan powerhouses will immediately exit their world rings and reveal their true bodies to engage the enemy. After all, only their real divine bodies and bloodline powers can unleash the terrifying strength that strikes fear into all races. After several days of flight, the Demon Clan team quietly approached Luo Feng's squad, yet the team leader, Taiwo, remained completely unaware. Fu Weisa, seeing that the chance to avenge his severed arm was at hand, was secretly thrilled, while Meng Wanna was already basking in the glory of the military merits he was about to earn. However, none of them realized that the ones walking into a trap were actually themselves. That's because they had severely underestimated Luo Feng's detection capabilities. They could never have imagined that someone who was merely a world master like Luo Feng would be equipped with high-end detection technology that only King Immortals could normally afford. In fact, when the enemy spaceship was still hundreds of millions of kilometers away from Luo Feng's vessel, Babata had already received an early warning signal from the detection device and immediately alerted Luo Feng. Through scanning, Luo Feng was able to clearly see the personnel layout, number, and power level of those inside the enemy ship. But he showed no sign of alarm, nor did he alert his teammates. The reason was simple: Taiwo and the others were far weaker than the approaching enemies. If Taiwo were to learn of the threat, he would undoubtedly choose to retreat in order to protect the lives of the team, something that would be extremely disadvantageous for Luo Feng. Keep in mind, Luo Feng was currently bound by the merit system set by military regulations. He had to complete specific kill missions in order to qualify for leaving the elite squad and acting independently. If he missed this opportunity for battle, it would mean an indefinite delay in reaching his merit goals, and his time stranded on the extraterritorial battlefield would be endlessly prolonged. Thus, Luo Feng simply pretended to be completely unaware, quietly waiting for the prey to walk into the trap on their own. He even secretly hoped that the incoming enemies wouldn't just be ordinary immortal army lords, but stronger powerhouses. Only then could he take advantage of this ambush to swiftly earn enough military merit and completely free himself, that allowing him to roam the vast extraterritorial battlefield without restraint. Although Taiwo's spaceship was suddenly and violently attacked without warning and instantly reduced to fragments, the powerful protection of the F-class lounge fortunately kept everyone inside safe. However, when Fu Weisa arrived with several immortal-level powerhouses, exuding murderous intent and leaving no doubt of his desire for revenge, all the team members, except Luo Feng, were filled with fear. Some had even mentally prepared themselves to die on the battlefield. Taiwo was well aware that the overall power gap between the two sides was enormous, leaving almost no chance of survival. Even so, he suppressed his despair and ordered everyone to scatter and break out if an opportunity arose. No matter how slim the hope, as long as one person could escape, it would be better than the entire squad being wiped out. As he thought, in such a desperate situation, even if one escapes, it's worth it. This was the last effort he could make as a captain. As the royal powerhouse with peak-level immortal army lord strength, Meng Wanna's pressure was like a collapsing mountain in ocean. Everyone knew that trying to flee before such a being was nothing but a delusion. In despair, they could only choose to fight to the death. Even if they fell, they would drag Fu Weisa down with them to vent their fury. Just as the team was preparing to stake their lives in one final stand, Luo Feng made his move. A wave of immortal-level aura, far surpassing that of all the other present warriors, erupted from him. The entire team turned to him in shock, only to see Luo Feng summon an awe-inspiring immortal-class plant lifeform, the star-eating grass. The Demon Clan may have prided themselves on their massive physiques, but that advantage only held when compared to humans. Against plant lifeforms, their bodily strength instantly paled in comparison. In the blink of an eye, the star-eating grass erupted with terrifying force, instantly tearing apart and devouring all the enemy immortals except Meng Wanna. It's important to note that, aside from a few rare beings with peak bloodlines or special lifeforms capable of suppressing them in power, plant lifeforms are overwhelmingly dominant against others of the same level. Faced with such a monstrous entity, the alien immortals had no power to resist and could only watch in horror as they were consumed, ultimately choosing to self-destruct in desperation. What was once a hopeless situation, a certain death scenario, was instantly reversed by Luo Feng's intervention. However, what left Luo Feng feeling somewhat helpless was that the military merit gained from killing those ordinary immortals except Meng Wanna was still less than half of the target set by the military regulations system. And to kill Meng Wanna within a short time, even the star-eating grass with peak-level immortal army lord power was not yet capable of doing it alone. Moreover, according to Luo Feng's judgment, the moment Meng Wanna saw the star-eating grass, he must have quietly sent out a call for reinforcements, asking nearby allies to come to his aid. To ensure a swift end to the battle and to gain military merit from Meng Wanna, Luo Feng decisively activated his armor in extreme mode and charged straight at the trapped Meng Wanna with his broadsword. This move shocked Taiwo and the others because they knew that Luo Feng's burst of speed in that instant had surpassed even Taiwo, their captain. Earlier, Luo Feng had already demonstrated power far beyond cultivators of the same level as a spiritual master, but now showing even stronger genetic warrior skills, plus his command of a powerful plant lifeform, everyone realized Luo Feng's background and identity were far more complex than they appeared on the surface. Meng Wanna sneered coldly at Luo Feng's approach with a broadsword, thinking it was a foolish and reckless decision, and immediately unleashed his law domain. At the same time, Luo Feng ordered the star-eating grass to quickly cover the entire battlefield with thick vines, then released a world projection unique to world masters. Shockingly, the oppressive force of this projection was far stronger than that of many space beasts, instantly shattering Meng Wanna's law domain into fragments. Meng Wanna endured the shock and suddenly lunged with his massive body, attempting to swallow Luo Feng with terrifying devouring power. The suction was so strong it violently shook the surrounding cosmic space. However, Luo Feng did not retreat. With a sudden strike of his broadsword, he cleaved Meng Wanna in two on the spot. The star-eating grass immediately coiled up and devoured him entirely. Thus, this demon clan royal with peak-level immortal army lord strength fell in utter shock. Taiwo and the others were left speechless and still dazed from the shock when Luo Feng already ordered the entire team to retreat immediately. He was very clear that anyone who dared to come for reinforcements despite knowing the star-eating grass was involved would not be an ordinary opponent. To avoid being surrounded by even stronger enemy reinforcements, Luo Feng would never risk his own life. Though confident, he was never arrogant. In fact, when facing these immortal army lords, Luo Feng doesn't actually need to rely on the star-eating grass to remain undefeated. However, with his current maximum speed, it's still difficult to ensure that all enemies can be eliminated within a short time. After all, Luo Feng is still only a world master, even with over 3,000 times the amplification of his spiritual energy, allowing him to suppress and even severely injure peak-level immortal army lords in terms of speed and power, controlling the Yenshin armament with the power of the world to completely annihilate enemies who are desperately fleeing remains challenging. Therefore, the most effective way to trap enemies at this moment is still the star-eating grass. Furthermore, Luo Feng can activate his soldier-grade armor to its limit, instantly gaining base strength close to that of a marquee immortal, and combined with his law comprehension at the 15th level of the Heavenly Bridge, his overall combat power has already reached the marquee immortal level. In summary, his current strongest combat power actually lies in the genetic warrior path rather than the spiritual master path. So, who do you think among Luo Feng's three bodies will be the first to master the teleportation divine ability as his strength and law comprehension continue to grow? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. After this battle, Luo Feng successfully completed the military merit quota set by the military regulation system and decided to leave the team to act independently. Although the teammates were reluctant to lose the strongest combat power of the elite squad, none of them spoke to stop him because they knew that, with Luo Feng's strength, continuing to accompany him would only become a burden. Before bidding farewell to his teammates, Luo Feng gave almost all the spoils he obtained from several immortal-level strong opponents, including detection equipment, to the team members. It should be noted that in the perilous extraterritorial battlefield, the quality of detection equipment often determines the outcome of battles. This was Luo Feng's final token of goodwill before leaving the team. After the farewell, Luo Feng boarded an automaton spaceship and left the team. At the moment he left the team, the military system immediately contacted him to inquire about his subsequent combat approach. According to protocol, after completing the military merit tasks set by the regulations, a soldier can choose to fight solo or lead a legion on expedition, where the latter offering more considerable military merit rewards. However, Luo Feng's current goal was training, so he undoubtedly chose to fight independently. After gaining approval from the military system and obtaining the star map for the 7th battlefield, Luo Feng resolutely decided to leave the Shattered Star region and head toward a region with a higher combat level. After all, Marquis Immortals were scarce in the Shattered Star region and no longer posed any challenge to him, so it naturally was no longer a suitable place for training. After arriving at the target starfield, Luo Feng easily detected the presence of multiple Immortal-level strong opponents through his advanced detection device. The number and level of these strong opponents were clearly higher than those in the Shattered Star region. Soon after, Babata discovered a familiar figure, which caught Luo Feng's attention. The legion to which that person belonged was under brutal slaughter by the Demon Clan, suffering heavy casualties and on the verge of collapse. The Immortal Legion commander in charge immediately sent out a distress signal. Although they couldn't directly detect Luo Feng's exact location, the military system informed them that he was nearby. Moreover, the advanced detection equipment Luo Feng used led the Immortal Legion commander to mistakenly believe that Luo Feng's level must be above theirs, which is at least an Immortal Army Lord, or possibly even a Marquis Immortal, and thus immediately requested support from Luo Feng through the military system. As a fellow human, Luo Feng naturally was willing to help. He descended rapidly on the level plate, wielding the Beast God weapon. The level plate radiated an astonishing oppressive aura. Seeing the plate, everyone was ecstatic, as if victory was within reach. Even the Demon Clan forces showed faint signs of retreat. After all, the level plate was extremely rare, even Marquis Immortals might not possess one. Anyone holding it must be at least the top Marquis Immortals. However, when they truly saw Luo Feng and felt only the aura of a world master, everyone's spirits plunged as if thrown into an icy abyss, feeling as if fate was playing a cruel joke on them. Just as despair settled in, Luo Feng controlled the Beast God weapon to strike. The illusory Beast God descended like a deity, its immense pressure rendering all soldiers below the World Master level powerless, forcing them to kneel or even fall flat. Seeing this, the Demon Clan Immortal immediately activated its law domain and counterattacked with the aid of its spacetime talent. Unexpectedly, Luo Feng's world projection crushed down like a heavenly wrath, forcibly compressing its law domain to only about 100 kilometers. Then, Luo Feng wielded the illusory Beast God to perform the heaven-tearing claw, ripping the enemy apart in one strike, followed by releasing the star-eating grass to devour the remnants. What was originally a one-sided massacre instantly reversed with Luo Feng's intervention. Everyone rejoiced at their narrow escape from death, except for one person, who wore a panicked expression. That is Nualan Shan, and a revenge orchestrated for him is about to unfold. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching this video. Wish you a wonderful day.